The longest shutdown in U.S. history could end tonight. We're live on Capitol Hill as the House prepares to take up a critical vote.
And we got a little taste of winter this week, and that has left many of us wondering just how much snow we might get this year. We'll tell you in our winter weather outlook. And the Commanders are settling into Madrid and into a new defensive era as Dan Quinn takes over play calling duties. We'll take you there to talk strategy. Right now at 4, the U.S. House of Representatives is back in session for the first time since September. Lawmakers were called back to vote on a CR that could reopen the federal government. I'm Annie Yu. What happens in the next few hours could bring the longest shutdown in U.S. history to an end. As lawmakers debate the deal, we are bringing you live team coverage covering everything that's at stake and, most importantly, how it could impact you. Let's start with our Larry Miller, who's live outside the House chamber as the countdown to the vote begins. Larry.
Annie, good to see you. Well, tonight all eyes are on Capitol Hill as lawmakers try to end the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. It's been 6 weeks without paychecks for thousands of federal workers, and the pressure is mounting. So here's what's happening right now. Moments ago, the House convened for a critical rules discussion that sets the stage for tonight's vote. In just an hour, the first votes are expected, with the last one expected around 7:15. Now, if everything moves forward, the final decision could come anywhere between 8:15 and 8:30, and that could mean the shutdown ends tonight. On the Republican side, Speaker Mike Johnson is making it clear how he feels about this ordeal and what he expects before the night is over.
We believe the long national nightmare will be over tonight. It was completely and utterly foolish and pointless in the end, as we said all along.
And across the aisle, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine, one of the lawmakers whose vote sealed the deal, says that reopening the government is just the beginning of a much larger fight.
We need to open government again and then put that health care debate front and center without the background damage of the shutdown obscuring Americans' view of who's fighting for their health care and who isn't.
Well, tonight's vote isn't just about ending the shutdown. It's also about restarting the federal government after 6 weeks of disruption. So here's what's in that deal. Well, the government reopens through January the 30th, back pay for hundreds of thousands of federal workers that have been missing paychecks, and programs like SNAP and housing assistance restart. And protections kick in to block future layoffs, enforce and reinstate employees fired during the federal shutdown. You may remember the Trump administration had laid off more than 4,000 federal workers during this shutdown that was eventually blocked by the courts. So what's not in this deal? Well, an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies, a major sticking point for Democrats. That fight is expected to come next. But for now, the tone of optimism surrounds tonight's decision that could finally bring the longest shutdown in U.S. history to an end. My colleague Rafael Sanchez-Cruz is live on Capitol Hill. Rafael, you've been speaking to some of those House members representing our region. What are they telling you ahead of tonight's vote?
Yeah, Larry, as you just mentioned, everyone we spoke to thinks this bill will pass tonight. They only need a simple majority. But now, there is a sense of relief because, as you mentioned, people will get their paychecks hopefully soon. This concern over SNAP benefits and over air travel might be disappear soon as well. But there's still this concern about what this means for the cost of health care. So this bill, as you mentioned, does not include extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies. That means that more than 20 million Americans could see their premium spike by next year. On the Senate side, Majority Leader John Thune has agreed to take up the vote on the ACA subsidies next month. But on the House side, there's no guaranteed vote. Some House Democrats are concerned that they won't be able to do something before healthcare premiums spike. This is what Congressman Glenn Ivey from Maryland and James Walkinshaw from Virginia had to tell us.
Glad the government's going to reopen, but the failure to address this issue means we probably have about 18 legislative days or so to fix this issue. I don't know that they're up to the task, but that means that people will be locked into monthly health care payments that are double or triple what they've been making before.
Democrats in the House are planning a discharge petition on legislation to extend the ACA subsidies. There's a group of Republicans in the House who have indicated their support for that. So whether the vote today fails or passes, we're going to be working to get those ACA tax credits extended.
So you just heard Waukesha mention that legislation to extend the credits. That bill will be introduced likely on Wednesday, according to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. We're talking about a 3-year extension, and there does seem to be some bipartisan efforts on the Republican side to really cross the aisle and get something done. We've even heard from Virginia's Jen Kiggins, who represents Virginia's 2nd District. She says, look, I'm willing to work with Democrats to come up with what she says is a common sense plan to drive down the cost for those who rely on the Affordable Care Act. I guess the question tonight is there enough time to do so before we see these spikes, Larry?
Well, Rafael, no doubt the pressure is mounting on both sides of the House at this point, because should those ACA credits not be extended, it will impact millions of Americans across the country. Rafael, we'll see you later. Thank you so much. Meantime, it appears that SNAP benefits will remain in limbo until the government reopens. The U.S. Supreme Court has extended an order that allows the Trump administration to withhold full funding. Now, if the government reopens, SNAP payments could resume quickly. If not, the High Court's order expires tomorrow night. Now, while the deal to end the government shutdown addresses federal workers and SNAP benefits, it would still leave millions of Americans uncertain about their health insurance. Now, the deal would push any decision on the future of Affordable Care Act subsidies to December, leaving those trying to navigate open enrollment in limbo. Kelly Vaughn joining us right now with advice from insurance experts. No doubt, Kelly, we need to hear it. What did they say?
Well, Larry, like you mentioned, without those subsidies, the cost of Affordable Care Act monthly premiums are going to spike in the new year, doubling, even quadrupling for millions of Americans. A decision that could lead some who are healthy or are looking to cut costs, they might decide to drop their coverage. Now, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that close to 4 million people would become uninsured if those subsidies aren't extended. Sabrina Corlett, the co-director of Georgetown University's Center on Health Insurance Reforms, she says that could have widespread ramifications.
In the insurance world, we call this a premium death spiral, because as the premiums go up, more healthy people drop their coverage, and you sort of get into this vicious cycle year over year of healthy people leaving, sicker people trying to hang on, but the costs going up for everyone each year.
As you guys have mentioned in the proposed bipartisan deal to open the government, Republicans have promised a Senate vote on the subsidies next month, though the House has made no such promises. Corlett says those trying to figure out their health care plan should be aware of those looking to take advantage of all of the policy uncertainty right now. She says there are bad actors out there who use deceptive marketing tactics to sell people what they think is real insurance, but she says, in her words, is essentially garbage. Now, she says if you want help, finding a plan, you should book an appointment with a marketplace navigator or an insurance broker. But she says book that soon, because those appointments are going to be filling up fast.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, that information is critical right now as we're expecting that vote at 7 o'clock tonight to determine the fate of this bill that could not only reopen the government, but could also give us an indication about where lawmakers are looking as it relates specifically to those ACA subsidies. Kelly Vaughn, we appreciate the information. Thank you so much. Of course, we'll be keeping a close eye on what happens today in the House and the continued impact of this shutdown on our region. Annie?